Okay, so welcome to this tutorial on how to use Flubaroo, which is a Google script to create formative assessments in your classroom that can quickly be graded and send the results back to the student almost immediately. So in order to do that, the first thing I need to do is get into my Google Drive and I need to create a form. So I'm going to create a form by clicking over here on the screen, Create, and then I'm going to click Form. If you've never made a Google form before, the first thing it's going to ask you is the title and the theme. So I can call this my, Pop Quiz Unit 1. And in terms of the theme, that's totally up to you. It's just a visual thing, so whatever you prefer. I like to use the header gray, but that's just me. So I'm going to hit OK. And now you can see I have Pop Quiz Unit 1. And from here, what I can do is start creating questions. For Flubaroo, you have to use multiple choice questions in order for it to automatically grade. You can add in short answers to this pop quiz, but that will not be automatically graded because there's no way for a computer to do that. So for now, I'm just going to show you the multiple choice ones. I'll add in a short answer in so you can see. So if I said, for instance, my question title is, what is the square root of 4? You could give kids help text if you wanted to say like this was chapter 1, page 23, or whatever you want to do for a help text. I want to make sure that the question type is multiple choice, and then I can put in some answers here. So I could say 0, I could say 2, I could say 1, I could also say 4. So these are some options for the kids to sort of decide if this is going to. Okay, so those are some sample responses that you could add in. Now, what I think is really important is to make sure that you check required question. What this means is that the student must answer this in order to submit the actual quiz, and so that's an important thing if you want students to do that. There are times when you want something to be optional, and in that case you would just uncheck that. I'm going to hit done because that question is saved. So what is the square root of 4? Notice the little asterisk that tells you that is a required question. And if I scroll up to the top, I forgot to mention, very, very important setting that you want to make sure on your Google form when you're doing this with Flubaroo is to automatically collect respondents' Larkspur-Corte Madera School District username. That's going to collect the student's email. Now you could have them actually go in and enter their own email, but that is going to maybe sometimes result in incorrect information. So this is automatically collecting it so that you will have the absolute correct thing. Something else that I like to do, even though I get the student's username, that's actually just their email. So, in my case, it'd be jfry@lcmschools.org. So I like to collect their names because I can use that for different things. So I'm actually going to make a field, a text field, as one of my questions on the quiz. It says first name, and then I'm going to leave it as a text option, and it's required, and I'm going to hit done. And then I'm going to also add one for my last name. And again, it's text, it's required, and I'm going to hit done. And finally, for a lot of us, we'd probably like to know what class period our students are in. And this one, you could actually make it a multiple choice option where you could say, period 1, you could do all your different periods. And this is just a way that maybe down the road you could sort this information by period, so it's kind of helpful to have it in there, I think. So let's say that. I'm going to say that's required, and I'm going to hit done. Now, ultimately, I want this to be at the top of my quiz. So right now my quiz appears so that there's the title, and then I have the first question. I'd actually like to move this. So thankfully in Google Forms, it's really easy to move a question. I can just click on it and drag it up, and it changes the order. So that's really simple. And I'm going to do that with these 3 questions. These are my first questions I want to ask kids. Now I'm going to ask them questions. What is the square root of 4? You could ask them, literary questions or vocabulary questions. So you can see that I've added another question. What year was the War of 1812? So that's that's kind of a funny one. But at any rate, I added a couple questions. You can add as many as you'd like. I can also add a short answer. So I will do that. So for the short answer one, I asked a question, what is a literary device? An open question. And what I said for the question type, you could do text. That's going to be like a small box. Paragraph text will invite a longer answer. You'll get a bigger box. And so then I'm going to do a required question again, and I'm going to hit done. So there's my quiz. It's a little overview of different subject matters. At the bottom here at the confirmation page, you have the opportunity to change the confirmation. The default is your response has been recorded. You could make it something like, thank you for completing the Unit 1 quiz. Your answers will be sent, maybe will be emailed to you soon. I also like to uncheck show link to submit another response because in this case I only want them to take the quiz once. Some of these settings are good for different things, but for Flubaroo probably you don't need to worry about any of these. So once I've done that, this is already saved as it does in Google Drive, and so the first thing that I'm going to do before I continue is click my response. At the top here I'm going to choose my response destination. So basically you're telling Google Form where you want the information to go once it has been collected. Once the students have submitted the form, where does the information go? So I'm going to click choose response destination, and at default it'll generate a new spreadsheet called Pop Quiz Unit 1 because that's the name of my form, and it says responses. That's actually, I find that really helpful, so I would just go ahead and keep it like that and hit create. And it's setting up the spreadsheet, so that's really helpful. Alright, so the next thing you're going to probably want to do is to create an answer key. So the way you do an answer key with a Google form is basically you take the quiz yourself and you give the right responses. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is click View Live Form. When I do that, it's going to show me as the kids will see it. So, and instead of my first name, I'm going to write answer, and instead of my last name, I'm going to write key, and that's going to help me define this really quickly. Doesn't matter what class period I'm in. What is the square root of 4? I want to make sure I give the right answer. So take your time with this. If you give the wrong answer, then what will happen is your students' answers will be graded incorrectly. So, and on this one, what is a literary device? There really is no, it doesn't matter because Flubaroo is not going to be grading this, but, so I could say whatever I wanted here. So you can see that I put in a quick response here, a little snarky response. So once I'm done with that, then I'm going to hit submit, and it says, thank you for completing the Unit 1 quiz. Your answers will be emailed to you soon, just as you had done with the students. So that's now generated an answer key. The next step is going to be to send out this form to your students. So number one, I want you to notice something here. There says there's a response. It shows you how many responses. So I just responded and generated the answer key. So there's one response so far. Now I'm going to go ahead and send the form out, and I would send it out to different people to my classes. So for me, I have my classes set up in my context. So like 5th period digital art, I have it there. So I'm going to do this right now. I'm not sure if this will work, but let's give it a try. I'm going to send it to myself and see if I can give myself another response so I have some data. You can include the form in the email, but we found that in some cases that doesn't always work, so you might want to uncheck that, and I'll actually have to link to it. And then you could customize the message and subject if you want. I don't feel the need to do that. I'm just going to hit send. So it's sending an invitation right now. So back in my email, you'll see that I've gotten an email that says Pop Quiz Unit 1. And this is what the kids are going to see. So I've invited you to fill out the form. So then the kids will click on the link, and there it is. So now I could type in my name here. It's automatically collecting my email, which is awesome. And I'm going to say I'm in a period 2, and I'm going to say, the square root of 4 is 4. I know that's a trick question. Oh, what year was the War of 1812? I bet that's a trick question too. I bet it really happened in 1811. And I don't know about this whole literary device business. So I'm going to just say stuff and things. And then I'm going to submit it. So once you've had all the kids take the quiz, what you can do is go back to the form. And look at that. This is the editable version that I was working in before. Notice now I have 2 responses, one from myself as the student and one as the answer key. So what I'm going to do now is click on this button right here that says View Responses. This is going to open up the spreadsheet that has all the data that I need for this. So notice that here's the timestamp, here's the username, first name, last name, and so on, and their responses. So this is where, right now, this information is a little bit hard to deal with and organize, but I'm going to show you how we're going to add in something that's going to make this happen. This is where we add Flubaroo. So to add Flubaroo, what you're going to do is go up to Insert at the top here on my Responses spreadsheet, and I'm going to go all the way to the bottom of this Insert list and click Script. Inside of Script, what I'm going to do is search for Flubaroo. I know this is a very strange word. It's Flubaroo. So Flubaroo, and what you're going to do is it'll come up here and you'll see it. What you're going to do is click Install, and we'll wait for it to install. Then it's going to say Authorization Required. This app needs authorization to run. Hit Continue, and it's going to tell you a bunch of things it needs to do. You can trust this is a very safe script to use, even if it sounds scary. It's completely fine. So once I did that, now it says it's installed, so I can go ahead and close out of this window. What you will notice is at the top of your toolbar here in your spreadsheet, it will now say Flubaroo, which is what you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the Flubaroo button and I'm going to click Grade Assignment. So it's going to run the script right now. You'll see this yellow box here, and then it pops up this window. And so this is a very straightforward thing you can do. So the first thing is it's going to ask you what are each of these particular things that the kids entered. And so what I do is like keep all the identifying information as identified student, and then you can select a point value for your questions. So I'm going to make each of them worth 5 points. And then what is a literary device? Because that can't be scored since it's not a multiple choice one, what I'm going to do is click Skip Grading. So Flubaroo is not going to look at that one, and I will have to look at that myself. So then I hit Continue, and it's processing. And now what it's going to do is it's asking me which one of these is the answer key. So thankfully, because I used answer key, it's really easy for me to find. Imagine if you have like a lot of these, 100, 150. So make sure, I recommend putting answer key in there so that you can quickly find it. And I'm going to hit Continue. And now it's actually grading the assignment. And you'll notice that in the background here that it's actually generated a new sheet in my spreadsheet. And it's saying, oh, the grading is complete. So I can close out of that. And what's really neat about this is you can see a lot of data really quickly. The first thing it'll show you is that a student who is in red did not do well on the quiz. So it tells you how many points the student got, and then also in this kind of goldenrod color, you'll see it's telling you that this particular question was problematic for a large percentage of students. So with a quick glance, you can see all this information. It's very cool. It also shows you like your averages for the class, average points, how many submissions, number of questions that are in this goldenrod color that are low scoring. So right there at your fingertips you have some great information. Now you may want to actually, when you send out an email to your students, you may want to actually be able to tell them something specific. So what you can do is if you go up to the Flubaroo menu now, once you've created the assignment, you can click on Flubaroo, and one of the things you can change is edit student feedback. So if I click on that, what it did was it just added a column in here that says feedback for student. And so you could say study chapter 1, page 23. Right, that would be something that you could say to that student. Or you could even see me after class. So you can give a specific message to certain kids by typing in there. If you don't type anything in there, then they will just see the default response, which I'll show you in a moment. The other thing you can do with Flubaroo is if there's kids who miss a question, you can actually create hints for that. When you send back the response, you can actually create hints that will go with them. So Flubaroo, and then edit help tips. And what this is going to do is it's going to jump from this sheet on my spreadsheet to my student submissions. This was the original screen we saw. And what it has done is it has inserted another row in here. This is number 2. So if I had a help tip for this, I'd say study chapter 1, page 23. This would be a hint, right? So I could do that. For any of the questions, I can tell them a very specific hint. Okay, so finally, to email your grades out to your students, you're going to click Flubaroo and you're going to click Email Grades. It's going to run the script, and all it's going to say is which which column has the email address, which is the username. You can say include list of questions and scores. You could also include the answer key if you want it. And then you could also put out a message. This is general. Okay, so finally the last thing you're going to want to do is be able to turn back around these grades to your students so that they can get their feedback on their formative assessment as soon as possible. I found that if I do the assessment at the beginning of class and then I have the students working on something else, I can actually get through this process of grading them and sending back the emails within the same period so they can actually check it. And so I find that's really beneficial for kids. So the final step would be to go up to Flubaroo and you're going to click email grades. It's going to run the script, and once it gets open, what we're going to do is it's going to ask you what is the email address, where is that contained. It's in the username. You can include a list of the questions and the scores, that's an option, and you can also include the answer key if you want the kids to know the answer. In addition, you can also tell them, you know, great job, I see your studying is paying off. Now, here's the thing. This message goes to every single kid. So if some kids did do not so great, it might be not so good to put this here. However, this is a lot faster than trying to go through individual feedback for students. So it's going to be up to you how you want to do that. So I hit continue and I wait a moment while it processes, and it says one grade was successfully emailed, successfully emailed. I want you to notice how the spreadsheet has changed here. It now says emailed grade and it has an X, and that means that I have emailed the grade. What's great about this is that it's now tracking that. So let's say you have a couple of kids who are absent one day and they need to take the quiz. That you can actually have them submit the form the same way, and what you can do is go up to Flubaroo and you can regrade the assignment. When it regrades the assignment, it's not going to, it'll say this will replace your existing grades, are you sure? But really it's only going to, it'll regrade all the kids, and the other kids who already took it, their answers haven't changed. So it's really just going to do all of the particular ones that need to be done because they missed it. So it's the same process here. I'm just going to change this to skip grading, and I could change the point value again. So it's not remembering what I did last time, and that's not ideal, but that's, you know, that's the way it is right now. And then, you know, I choose the answer key, and I did that, set myself up for success there. And then it's grading my assignment. So any new kids will now be added to this list. Now, here's the cool thing. If I have already emailed the kid a response, notice that there's still an X in the emailed grade. So even though I regraded the assignment, it says I've emailed the student. So if I wanted to re-email them, because maybe they took it again, all I have to do is delete the X. And now when I email the student, it will actually send them an email because it doesn't see it as being actually having done already. So I'm going to go to my email now just so you can see what kids are going to see when they get a response from you is no reply. That's the name of the email, which is kind of a pain, not the ideal, but it'll say, here is your grade for Pop Quiz Unit 1. And when you click on it, this email contains your grade. And it says 0 out of 10. So, you know, these are conflicting messages, obviously. This is to send to the entire class. Great job. I see your studying is paying off. And then for me, your instructor has this feedback just for you. See me after class. So that doesn't exactly, it's kind of contradictory, as you can see. But that's how we did that. And then if I scroll down, it'll show me, okay, this was an incorrect question. The correct answer was this. And you could see, and it says not graded for this one. So that one you'd have to grade on your own. And that is how you use Flubaroo to generate a quick formative assessment to give you a feeling for how students are doing in your class. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.